the DRB to order. Begin by introducing board members, starting Kevin.
Kevin O'Connell, board member.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
Rob Goodwin, the chair.
Joe Cameron, board member.
And Alex.
Yep, she's unmuting.
Alex Halas, board member.
Ready. Wonderful. And so turn it right over to Meredith for a quick review of the meeting procedures and questions anyone has related to that.
Yep, give me a second because the other meeting went so late. I did not open my documents. All right. So I'm going to share my screen for anybody who hasn't done this before.
Applicants up there. I'm gonna
Yep.
move down.
You-
Otherwise, I can't see.
You're going to move down further?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay.
move to next to Kevin because
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna be able to see that.
Okay, yep.
That makes sense.
All right, while I'm doing this. So, oh, of course I don't have my cheat sheet. Give me one second. Got stuff in my other packet. Sorry. What happened?
Yes. Yeah, you wake up in the middle of the night like this.
There we go. You'd think I'd have this completely memorized by now, but I don't. All right, so for everyone who is viewing tonight's meeting via ORCA Media, you can participate in tonight's Development Review Board discussion via the Zoom platform using either video or telephone access options. So if you want the full video experience, you can type this link into your web browser. Actually, well, I'll fix that later. And I will get a notification that you want to get into the meeting. And then alternatively, you can dial this phone number and plug in this meeting ID when prompted. And again, I'll get a little notification that you want to get into the meeting. If anyone is having problems accessing the meeting, please email me at mcrandall@montpelier-vt.org. Please note that for anyone attending via Zoom, turning your video on is optional. We do ask that you keep your microphone on mute when you're not speaking. This reduces background noise. Right now we have board members and applicants or applicant representatives on remotely. We don't have just general members of the public, but if a general member of the public does get on, please note that if you have questions or comments that are, substantive, please raise your hand before you unmute yourself or before you are asked to unmute. And then also please reserve the Zoom chat function for troubleshooting or logistics questions only. Any questions or comments about an actual item on the agenda, you need to raise your hand and then wait to be called on by the chair. In the event the public is unable to access tonight's meeting, and I would get notification of this through my email, the meeting would need to be continued to a time and place certain. I'll now hand the meeting back over to the chair, who has changed his seat.
Thank you, Meredith. Take a agenda motion from any board member. Motion by Kevin, second by Joe. All those in favor of the approving the agenda for tonight's meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Have an agenda. All right, so yeah, there's one application this evening. I will do our public service disclaimer. We don't have any other one other than the applicant, I believe, this evening and the board members, but we'll say it anyway, that all questions and comments should go through the chair. And you should not, talk unless you are recognized to talk. And if we break those two rules, we will end this meeting and continue it to a time certain, and that will be quite unfortunate. So without further ado, I will actually say that I'm the vice chair, acting as the chair tonight. Our chair is not able to be here. We hope she has a return maybe the next meeting, but we're unsure. So looking forward to having Sharon back at some point this summer. So who do we have for the 190 Montpelier, East Montpelier Road application?
Hi, I'm Brian Lane Carnis with DeWolf Engineering. We're the civil engineer for the project. I'm here with David Ide, the landowner, but I'll be doing the majority of the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Welcome, and David, welcome. So we'll get right into it and swear you both in as witnesses for this application tonight. Anyone else on there? Nope, just those two to be sworn in. So all those interested in providing testimony on this application, would you please raise your right hand to be sworn in as witness? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of
I do.
from Brian and David? Check that off. So Meredith, you want to give just a brief overview, and I'm sure Brian will give a great presentation on the rest.
So this application is mainly before the board because it is a major site plan. The new greenhouse is over 2,000 square feet footprint, so it has to come to you. There's a few, the parcel itself is a little odd, it's fairly unique. And so there's some sort of tweaky things in the application about setbacks and landscaping requirements that have to do with the very specifics of this parcel, and the fact that it's already been developed for a very long time. And so there's some items in red that really have mostly to do with that are sort of judgment calls that the board needs to make. I've made some suggestions as to where I think you should go on that. I don't think it's a particularly hard sell. I think it's a reasonable way to get forward on this one.
Great, thank you, Meredith. So Brian, I'll just turn it over to you, and if you want to share the site plan or have Meredith share the site plan while you're talking, then feel free to request. I think that can be helpful for the board.
Sure, Meredith, actually, if you could turn on sharing for me, it's useful for me to be able to point and talk at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. Give me just a second. I don't do that automatically anymore.
Probably wise.
We had some issues. If you give it a second, that should work.
Yep. Okay, sorry, let me just bring this over to my side of the screen. Oh, that might not have worked. Sorry, give me 1 second. There we are. So this is just an overhead view of the existing property with the existing development shown and approximate property lines from the tax map. So as Maria said, it's a little bit of an unusual lot because it's triangular in shape, and it is bordered on all three sides by rights of way. So you have the right of way for Route 2, East Montpelier Road along the frontage, and then along both of the other sides of the property are railroad right of ways. So this one here to the west is developed with a track, and this one to the southeast is not. But both of these are railroad right of ways bordering the property. Also, as Meredith mentioned, the majority of this existing property is already developed. With building is in the center here, the main parking lot. This is the delivery and loading area around the back. Loading dock is back here. This area here in the northeast corner is a display area that is pretty much the only area of the site that currently isn't covered with impervious surface. This area is covered with landscape fabric and mulch. I think you can't see the mulch in this picture here, but I believe it's mulched at this point. So as Meredith mentioned, the proposed project is to construct a new 2,400 square foot greenhouse. The greenhouse will replace this existing greenhouse and this area that's currently only covered by a pergola. So it's has a structure, but there's no roof really. It's currently open. And all the area under the pergola here is currently used for outdoor display and plant sales during the season. So the purpose of the project is to create a little more greenhouse space to extend the plant selling season, just so not as many plants have to be stored outside. You can also get a sense of the project from these photos that we submitted. I'll zoom in a little. So existing building, obviously this is taken from across Route 2. So here's the driveway. And then this is the existing greenhouse that will be replaced. And just in front of it, you can see the existing pergola with the plant sale, and all of which will be replaced with the proposed greenhouse. Happy to stop there for questions, or I can run through some of the items that Meredith has flagged in her report.
Yeah, I think we can maybe stop there and we can address just focus in on maybe the first item in the report, the dimensional standards. So that's kind of the two-part question. One on the setbacks, I think we can get through that one quickly. If board members sort of understand the determination from staff on the triangular parcel. Seeing nods in the room that we agree that saying that we treat this as a corner parcel as we would elsewhere. There's no rear setback, there's only side setbacks and a front setback, with the front yard setback being along Route 2 and the side yard setback being along the railroad rights of way. And I'm seeing that's an affirmative on the board with that one. The second part of this is an existing non-conformity to relate to impervious. So Brian, I'll let you maybe talk about that specifically. I'm sure you have some ideas.
Yeah, sure. So the site is currently 89% impervious. That's just partly because it's kind of hemmed in by the right of ways, and you can see here on the site plan that even the right of way for Route 2 is going through some of the existing parking area, just sort of an existing quirk of the site that we've inherited for this project. And as I mentioned, the only real area that we're not considering impervious is this area in the northeast corner here. That's a landscape fabric and mulch plant display area. Those of you that are familiar with the site, you may be familiar that there's sort of a network of sidewalks here next to the existing greenhouse, and there is like a crushed stone surface. And we did investigate those areas and found that the crushed stone surface is really just a surface, and it's basically one layer of stones thick, and then below that is compacted gravel. So really this whole area where we're going to be placing the proposed greenhouse is already impervious surface. So we're not making any increase to the existing nonconformity with the proposed project. And so we believe that it's approvable on that basis.
Board members have any impervious questions? That I guess I have one question. I think that with these, we're obviously over the past year, the question of impervious is something we want to pay a lot of attention to, right? But understand that every situation is different. The question is sort of for me, the drainage on the site, how is it currently configured? How what's your proposed sort of configuration for collecting water from the roof of the greenhouse per se? And I don't know if you could talk about a little bit of that, Brian.
Yeah, sure. So currently, there's the existing greenhouse, which kind of the roof sheds to the, say, north and south, the way this plan is oriented. And this area that does, with the pergola and the walkways, kind of drains to the east. So everything ends up down in the driveway from this area of the site, down in the driveway below. There's also a gutter along this north end of the building, which you can see is piped underground and again comes out sort of on the east area of the property. Let me just get back to this map. So all of that drains into over here in the railroad right of way. There's kind of a self-contained low spot that doesn't have any further drainage as far as we were able to determine in our site visits. So it's possible that somewhere there's a culvert over into the next property over, but we like I said, we weren't able to find it. But because the entire area that we're redeveloping to construct the new or the proposed greenhouse is currently impervious area, then there won't be any increase to the peak rate or volume of runoff from the site. And then we are maintaining the existing drainage pattern. So we're planning to collect drainage off the roof, and then route it down again to across this gravel driveway and into this low area here adjacent to the railroad tracks.
Kevin, yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us, how did the site fare last July during the flood?
We had water all around the building, but it did not go in the building or the greenhouse. Can you hear me?
Yep.
And the proposed greenhouse is outside of the floodplain, so the floodplain boundary is shown on the plan here. So that's the edge of the 100-year floodplain boundary there.
Great, thank you.
So I see you call out like a water recycling system for the greenhouse. Is some of that water that gets captured on site?
Yeah, so I thank you for reminding me I should talk about that. So we had been talking with David about what would happen with the excess plant watering water that isn't absorbed by the plants. And so our original thought was that we would have a recycling system. After working through the operation a little bit more and discussing ways to kind of minimize or optimize the watering system in there and talking about how the existing greenhouse is managed, we've actually revised that management plan so that any excess water from watering plants will go onto the floor of the greenhouse. The employees will squeegee it up essentially because it's very minimal. It's probably too minimal amount of water to support a recycling system. And then it will be collected into a container and then taken off site for appropriate legal disposal.
Can I just comment? Because we had talked about this, Brian, and so we will have a drain that will go into an outside little catch tank.
Oh,
I guess I thought that was understood, but we'll have a drain. It's very minimal on it, like the current greenhouse that we have. We basically squeegee it. There's a drain, but I've never seen water come out of the drain outside. There just isn't a lot of water, but I thought we had talked about actually having a drain so that if there was any excess water, it would go down into a catch tank outside. And then at some point we can just dispose of it, have someone come pump it or use it on the trees and shrubs.
I guess my question when I saw the water recycling was wondering if you were capturing any of the water from the gutters and runoff from the building to be used as irrigation.
No.
No, I just was not to say that that's a requirement, something you have to do. I was just curious, looking at the plan, whether that was part of the plan.
No, I talked to some greenhouses and no one had they just didn't have any solutions for recycling the water. Because I did initially want to recycle, but no one had any good solutions. And then in talking with my greenhouse manager, we talked about it and she's like, we really don't have much water running off to begin with. The plants absorb it. We'll have a drip line for the hanging baskets. So all of the hanging baskets will have a drip line, and there really won't be much water on the floor. So my idea was, I thought Brian was okay with it, but just do have a drain, and then probably once a year, either, have Wind River come pump it, or just put a sump pump in there and just use it to water the trees and shrubs that day, something like that.
Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood our conversation, I think, but
Yeah, I
uh,
apologize,
e-
Brian.
yep, no problem. Either way, it's going to a tank and will either be used on site on the plants for, that are on the site, or pumped and legally disposed of.
Like maybe you had a question, Alex, maybe not. No, okay. Does anyone else need any more information on the impervious coverage question?
Oh,
Yeah, Catherine?
and forgive me if this is obvious, but can you talk us through the crushed stone plant display? Whether that's off to the side, whether there's any drainage function over there?
So that, you mean this area here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just staying exactly as it is now. There's no stormwater management function to it, because as I said, it's surfaced with crushed stone, but only very minimally. And below that is compacted gravel, similarly to like a gravel driveway or parking lot.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
I guess just to recap on that, my understanding is, just correct me if I'm if I'm wrong, is that the drainage from the site, most of it drains down and collects in kind of a natural swale adjacent to the railroad, not in a formal sort of treatment system, but it kind of ponds there before slowly either infiltrating or making its way south to the river. That where it would drain if it were to actually
More or less, it kind of depends on if there's a culvert under the railroad or not. But yeah, it would either flow along the tracks to where the bridge is, where the railroad crosses, or it would go, if there's a existing culvert, it would be the railroad's culvert. It would go across to the neighboring property to the east. But there's no change proposed to that. That's all existing drainage pathway.
I guess my big question is, just want to make sure that the existing runoff from the impervious is being, treated in some way so that, we don't necessarily have a nonconformity with, untreated water, going every which way, and we're missing an opportunity to, to deal with it. But it seems what you're describing seems like it's an effective treatment, from my perspectives. Board members have any other questions on that? All right. On to the next. So I guess the next one was just sort of a note about demolition, and making sure the debris is effectively removed within 60 days from the site. Seems like that's a reasonable ask. Applicant can confirm.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be removed in a couple of days and hauled off somewhere.
Great. We often put that as just like a condition as a reminder, which
Okay.
we can do, but no big deal. So we've discussed, so the next topic here would be, stormwater management, which we've discussed a bit about. Staff concluded, not required to submit a stormwater management plan for this. I think that falls right in line with the discussion about impervious that we've had and the whatnot. Kevin, do you have anything to add? Look like you're gonna say something.
Finish what you're gonna say. I do have a question.
No, that was it. That was just staff
Okay.
found that a stormwater management plan was not required, and we kind of discussed a little bit
Right.
about that already.
Well, my question is about timing. We're in the middle of the gardening season. Is this work going to be done before the gardening season is over, or are you waiting until the fall?
Fall. It takes 8 to 10 weeks for the greenhouse to be built, and I haven't ordered it yet until I was sure that I could get the permit. So when I'm sure I'll get the permit, I'll order it, and they said it takes about 10 weeks to erect and complete. So I'd like to do it anywhere between September 1st and middle of September.
Um, okay, so, um, next topic would be, landscaping and, um, uh, I guess Brian or David, would you mind going through sort of the existing conditions of the landscaping? I think that'd just be helpful to frame the conversation.
Sure. So the majority of the existing, landscaping is along the frontage of the property. So we submitted some photos of what that currently looks like. So this is starting from the right side of the property as you're looking at it from the road and moving across to the left. So there are currently, I think it's 7, but I'm just going to double check that number. Give me 1 second. 7, yes, 7 of these large mature trees across the property frontage. And then in between them, there are planting beds with a mix of mostly perennials and shrubs. And David, you can correct me if there's other things in there. So this is sort of to the right of the entry here. Here's the entry itself, and then a bit to the left of the entry, you can sort of see the street trees and the landscaping in that area. It continues along the front of the building. And then there's a small area just at the end of the property where there's less landscaping along the frontage. So, but as Meredith mentioned in the report, and as we mentioned in our cover letter, the site comes pretty close to meeting the street tree requirements. And these are quite large, mature trees. So, we feel that for an existing site, this is pretty appropriate and meets the intent of the regulation. And then the other piece is the total, and then also provides, shade for the parking lot. And then the other piece is the total site landscaping. So one thing after reading through the staff comments for the proposal, I noted that Meredith noted that the trees don't count towards total site landscaping, but I started thinking, well, there's quite a lot of additional shrub and perennial landscaping along the frontage that may count towards the total landscaping requirement. So we don't have a survey of that area, but I estimated the size of those planting beds based off of overhead photos. And I'm estimating that there's roughly 2,400 square feet of that planting bed along the frontage. And I mean, that's kind of inclusive of the trees because there's landscaping in under them. So if that's appropriate to consider in the total site landscaping, then the site may actually be in compliance, or at least very close to being in compliance.
It's my inclination as the board. I don't want to get into saying, you got to plant a tree here, plant a tree there, and that would be, sufficient for us. I'd sort of rather, have you come up with the proposal of, are there areas for improvements of the landscaping to get it closer? Or are there not? Are you tapped out? I mean, I would agree,
Sure.
close, if not already there. But I don't know if anyone else on the board has any thoughts on that.
So I'm also happy to address the potential for adding additional landscaping. So as you can see in this map, and again, this is tax map boundaries, so take them with a grain of salt, but this is pretty consistent with the survey we had of the property from the 90s. The existing parking is right up to the front property line, and then goes right up to the sidewalk in front of the building. We have these already used outdoor display areas, this outdoor display area in this area, and then, on the west and southeast sides, the existing driveway is pretty close to the property line, and also on the southeast existing driveway and existing exterior material storage. So, there's really not anywhere on the site to add landscaping that wouldn't require removing some of the existing improvements on the site.
Could you just flip to the site plan, the proposed site plan real quick? And so that area, I guess be west of the proposed, greenhouse. That's still gonna be, sort of outdoor plant storage, kind of like it is now?
Yes.
So although they're not permanent plants, Lucas, I would say that there's gonna be quite a lot of plants that are gonna be there on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, you can see in the photos in the summertime, it's pretty green over there with all those plants.
Yeah.
This is probably a better photo to see it. And this is the area of the site we're talking about right here.
I mean, I guess if you don't, I'll just speak hypothetically here. If you don't decide to get in the wood pellet business and start stashing wood pellets there instead of plants, then I think I'm okay. Meredith, yes?
Yeah, can I just, so if we're talking about the total site landscaping requirement, just to sort of refocus.
Yep.
The standard, right, that comes into play here, where we have a site that's currently non-conforming with respect to impervious cover, which is what we've got.
Right. Yeah.
The applicant has to demonstrate that as a result of that non-conformity, right, the excess impervious cover, the site cannot reasonably meet the total landscaping requirement. In that instance, the board can waive some or all of the total landscaping required. So a reminder that the total site landscaping has to actually be on the parcel. So all of that stuff along the frontage is actually in the public right of way. So, right, all of those shrubs, as far as I can tell from the site plan that was submitted, all of those shrubs, all of those trees, that's all in the public right of way. So it can count as the street trees. Street trees are allowed to be in the public right of way. So that one's fine. There's just a tiny, like maybe a half of a small tree, right? That one isn't the issue. It's the total site landscaping, which is supposed to be planted trees and shrubs with proper growing areas on the site. But we have this current nonconformity with respect to impervious cover, and it's not like impervious cover that is just excess parking lot that somebody doesn't need, right?
Yep.
It's a really constrained
Yep.
lot. And I think I put a note in here about this. You also have railroad right of way. The railroad is really unhappy if you plant trees around their edges. So just factors to consider in this particular situation.
Sure, absolutely. So that, I mean, somebody maintains that landscaping inside the public right of way, right? Is that maintained by this
We
parcel?
maintain.
From what you're just saying there, I mean, I think it's a question as the board. Do we think that there are opportunities for landscaping? I think it's difficult. Very difficult.
I mean, I think it's pretty green the way it is, and the applicant is staying within the existing feel of the place.
Absolutely. So do we have have to do a formal waiver, or the applicant requests a waiver? So an applicant, so a waiver was requested with the application.
Mhm.
Yeah, got it. Yep. Yeah, I see. I don't see an issue.
No.
Good there. So lighting, Brian, did you get to review the lighting? Have any comments?
The lighting will be interior to the greenhouse, but obviously, as Meredith noted, being a greenhouse, you'll at least somewhat be able to see it from the outside. David, I don't know if you had a chance to review that proposed condition, but if the board is willing to condition the lights, which I don't believe have been selected yet, to meet the requirements of either being less than 2,000 lumens per fixture or be shielded. Seems like a reasonable way to move forward to me.
Yeah, that sounds good here. I'm seeing lots of nods in the room. Yep. That was it here in my notes for the major topics and issues. Did I miss anything, Meredith?
No, just as long as you guys are happy with the design and compatibility conclusion. And just note, I forgot to transfer that lighting condition into the draft motion, but the language is there on page 12 for the condition.
I feel like we always ask the question in major site plan about bicycle parking and what I'm gonna ask the question.
Well, the bike path does,
Yeah.
it's just on the, goes right there.
Is there a spot for employees or patrons to show up and park their bike on the site?
We're not proposing one. David, I'm not familiar enough with the site to know if there is dedicated bicycle parking anywhere.
No, but can't you? I mean, we've had people often will like park their bike by my road sign and secure it to the road sign. I don't know what you would need for bike parking. I'm not familiar with that.
That's something we've encouraged but haven't necessarily conditioned and really advocated for super hard, but figured we'd bring it up. We've always talked about it. I guess we'd leave it if there's opportunities to do so, then we implore you to do so and don't need to condition a permit on it. But something to keep in mind.
Okay.
We've seen people ride their bikes to Casellas. Believe it or not, with kids on the bike.
And we're gonna see more of that particularly with e-bikes becoming a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're much more available and accessible for those types of short commutes.
Have a car bike, which would be suitable for going to Agway.
Right.
So I
Yep,
can
there you go.
testify to that. Yeah.
Yeah. You set?
Yeah.
Any final questions from the board? No comments? Or anything from Brian and David?
I think we're set unless the board has another question.
Gladly accept a motion.
Motion to grant the request for major site plan approval for construction of a 2,400 square foot greenhouse, including demolition of the existing greenhouse, as presented in the application Z 2024-0055 and supporting and supplemental materials, subject to the condition that the lights inside the greenhouse either emit less than 2,000 lumens per fixture, or if emitting 2,000 lumens or more, the lights will have to be fully shielded.
Sounds good to me.
Second,
A motion by Joe for approval with some conditions, a second by Kevin. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call vote. Joe, how do you vote?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Kevin?
yes.
And Rob, myself, votes yes. That is unanimously approved. And Meredith will work with you on the final details as far as permits and approval.
Yeah. So given the short week, I probably won't have a decision ready for you this week, but try and get it for next week. And there are no permit conditions. So once we have a final written decision and I get Rob's signature on it, we'll have that and the permit ready for you at the same time.
Thank you.
And what we usually do is I also try and get, in this instance, Michelle's, I can't remember, did you file for the building permit? I think you did. Got too many things going on, but we'll try and get the building permit at the same time, if not shortly thereafter.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all for your time. Have a good night.
Good night.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay, the minutes from June 17th.
I can make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll
Like-
second.
Second by Alex. All those in favor of approval of the June 17th minutes, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. So looks like we may not have a midsummer meeting.
Oh,
Doesn't look like it.
No, we don't, I don't have any applications. I don't have any applications for July 15th and I will be out of state on the 5th. So the next meeting is August 19th.
So
Um,
Wow.
lovely.
and I
There
have,
goes the summer. Jeez.
I have an application for the 19th. We may have more, because the deadline is a
that
couple
might
of
be,
weeks away still.
that might be a long meeting then, huh?
It depends. I mean, we won't. There comes a point where we're like, they might be really tired once they get to you. So do you want to just bump it another 2 weeks?
We've always got the right
You know.
to bump it. We
Yeah.
Yeah,
can take on as much as we
Yeah.
like in one night or with little.
yeah. So it depends. But right now I have a final subdivision for 585 Elm Street. So that was the 2 parcels with the floodplain to the rear. The 2 parcel subdivision. You guys saw it.
Yep.
There's an
Oh,
existing
yeah.
house, but there's developable land in front that doesn't have any floodplain.
Oh, right.
On Elm Street. That's the one on Elm Street, right?
That's the one on Elm Street. So I've got that whole application. And I think I already loaded it on the pending applications page. If anybody wants to look, but that's the only thing I have so far, but may have some more.
Okay, well, great.
So yeah, enjoy a big chunk of summer without having to come and see me.
Gotta slow it down. So, I mean, how did
Yeah.
July 1st get?
Yes.
Oh,
It's like
I'm
back to
sure it's
school
gonna get
period.
busy. You know, and it's not, we're seeing a lot of administrative permits.
Mhm.
And Audra's replacement, Nick Gothier, has started today.
Oh,
So it's actually kind of
Congratulations
nice. It's
to him.
gonna be a little slow for him
Sure,
to get
of
up to
course.
speed. But yeah, we're back to 3 permitting staff. So,
all right.
And how are you doing on new office space?
yeah, I don't know about that yet. Today was the first day of the new fiscal year. So, you know, they give them a little time. I don't get to weigh in on that so much, but hopefully we'll have new space at some point before too much longer, but we'll see. Budgets.
I believe our take attendance portion may be disappearing because of the program no longer exists.
I'm
Or-
sorry, what? Oh, yeah. So yes, that is the other thing. Because we're in the new, yeah, I need to take that off of here. I forgot about that. The stipend program has ended. So yes, I can take attendance
Like,
off.
likely not because it was, it was a success, I think, and well used and well appreciated. It's just, we had a flood and, we
Yeah.
don't have any money.
Yeah, exactly. So city budget for this year was pared way back on a lot of different things.
I think it's great the city was able to do that.
Yeah.
Set precedent that is.
Yeah.
Good
And
approach.
the hope is that they'll do that again. I mean, it was definitely an equity situation.
Yeah.
So if that pops back up again, then we'll do it again. So, okay. Thank you.
Great. Well, motion to adjourn. We still have a quorum to do so.
You do, you're for it.
Seconded.
He can't make the motion.
Oh, I'll
necessarily
make the motion then.
I'll second. Yeah.
All right, motion by Joe, second by Catherine to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Done. Okay.
everyone, have a good summer.
Enjoy July and the first half of August.
Indeed.
The summer.
Yeah, happy summer, everybody.